guys, have you ever felt like you're wandering aimlessly through life, like some character in a video game? Trust me, I know the feeling. Listen, it's time to hit pause and tune into Beverly Explains It All. Join me as we have candid conversations with guests and friends and talk about everything under the sun. Let's figure out what really makes you tick. If you're curious about life and learning how to enjoy the present, let's go down this road of self-discovery so together we can purposely find your purpose. Allow me to ask the questions you're thinking, introduce you to new ideas, and help you live your best life. Come with me on this journey as Beverly explains it all. Hi guys, welcome to Beverly Explains It All. Today I have a great guest. Her name is Arlene Cohen Miller. Hey Arlene.
Hello.
Arlene is a work-life balance coach for women, and this is something that is very important for not just women, men as well, but for all of us, I feel. Thank you for being
Absolutely.
here.
My pleasure.
Amazing. So I like to start my show with a quick icebreaker. It's just 5 quick, random yes/no questions. Are you down to play?
Sure, absolutely.
Awesome. This is a new one to the repertoire. Are you a Taylor Swift fan?
Yeah, I like her.
There's so much hype around her right now, and it's like I never had like a huge opinion of her, yes or no. Like her music would come on, I'm a pop fan, so I was like, yeah, I like her. And I'm like, yeah, she's pretty badass.
Yeah, I think there's there's too much talk about a lot of celebrities. I like her music. She really is a pretty strong woman. Is she perfect? Probably not, but neither am I. So what the heck,
Okay. I'm like, talk about a work-life balance. Like, God, I can only imagine having to be on a tour.
Yeah, really. Wow.
Okay. Can you say the alphabet backwards?
No.
Don't feel bad because neither can I. I was like, I'm just curious. Do you like fruitcake?
Not really.
Yeah, not a fan over here either.
No.
But my husband does, and I'm like, you are like that percentage of people, but yeah, not a fan. Can you swim?
Yes, I can.
Do you like swimming?
Yeah, I used to do master swimming, which was like competitive swimming as like when I was in my 30s, and it was fun for a while. I can swim now, but I'm not the kind of swimmer that I used to be. I do more yoga.
Still great exercise either way. I mean, your body's probably just like trained as a swimmer since you've done it like at master's level. That's incredible. Wow.
30s was a long time ago, though.
I feel like that muscle memory, though, it kind of kicks in. Like, I played tennis in high school and a little bit in college, and I haven't played in years. But when I get on a court, like, I just feel like up here, it's like, it knows what to do. And I'm always so proud of myself. Like, oh, yeah. I mean, I lost, but, I can do it. Okay, last question. Do you have a pet?
Not right now.
Aw.
I did. I had a cat called Hobbs quite a few years ago, and we got
Hobbs.
him when my son was like 15 or 16. He was allergic to animals, and I got him like acupuncture sessions, and I'm like, we're done with snakes and spiders. We're getting a cat. Yeah, I loved him. He was a great cat.
I love animals. I love cats, particularly. I grew up with cats, and I actually was allergic too. But it was very bizarre because when I was younger, I never really showed signs. I had seasonal allergies. But when I went to college and then I would come home for summer break, I would be like, I literally now use an inhaler. And I think it's because of the dander. It's like, it's just random. But it doesn't stop me from like burying my face in them. Like my mom and my dad would be like, are you kidding me? Can you not do that? But, what are you going to do? All right, well, let's jump into this. I know a little bit about you just because I've been reading your bio and your website, but can you please tell my guests a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Arlene Cohen Miller, and when I was about 15, I decided that I was going to become an attorney. Kind of a shock to my whole family. No attorneys in the family. And it didn't matter what anyone said as I was in college. I went to law school. I became an attorney. I had a solo practice firm after working for other attorneys after 3 years. I was living in a suburb of Cleveland, and I opened my own little solo practitioner. There was a couple of other attorneys, an employment agency. It was just like this little, storefront office. It wasn't anything fancy. And I immediately found out I was pregnant with my son. So, and my ex-husband was working like 70 or 80 hours a week. He was in training. And so all my family was 6 hours away in Louisville, Kentucky. So this is part of the reason why I'm a work-life balance and harmony coach, because there was counselors, there were psychologists, there were psychiatrists. There weren't any really coaches to help me move. And that's what I really needed, was someone to help me organize myself and move through this new phase of my life, not just by myself. So
Yeah.
I really learned how to develop my own tribe, and that's one of the reasons I do what I do now. And when my son was 9, I sold the business and moved to Colorado with him. We live in Colorado, and bought into a small boutique law firm that was handling commercial law. I went from family law to commercial law. I got a little bit burnt out doing divorces and child custody and all that stuff. And about 6 years before we sold the business, I got really interested, and I had some friends starting businesses. And I got a diploma in coaching and mentoring and a diploma in transformational holistic counseling. Two friends got diplomas in those areas, but they felt like there was just something missing. And what they felt was missing was like this really heartfelt, applying yourself from the heart in those areas and not just a big head case thing.
Yeah.
And so I've really felt, I thought this would be really great for the practice of law. So I did that. I also got certified as a meditation facilitator. And I guess what I found, like as an attorney, I learned to be a better listener, a good listener. And I didn't realize, God, I was really a horrible listener. Because a good listener actually just is fully present with the person. Wasn't. I stopped thinking about what I was going to say when people were
Mm.
talking to me, and just I learned how to hold like a really huge, nice space of love and judgment free as in coaching and in counseling. And I loved that for a while. That was great in the practice law, but I got burnt out. I was an attorney for many, many years. I love coaching and mentoring. I love working with meditation with people. And I just decided I'm done. I'm going to go switch, I'm going to switch careers.
Yeah.
Did it in my 50s, and we sold the business, and that went well. And so here I am today. My son's all grown up, and yeah, I have a couple grandkids, 3 actually.
I mean, that's a whirlwind. I mean, just being an attorney, period. I can't imagine the work-life balance, but then finding out you're pregnant on top of everything. I'm like, as a person who works in entertainment, and as we spoke about before, like my hours were never consistent. And I mean, I kind of was just at the mercy of other people and my bosses, really. But, it's difficult, I think, for many people to really know how to create a work-life balance. So I hope we can get into that today. I have a few questions, and I'd love to start off with, what's the first step that someone should take to discover their true purpose in life? And also, how can they differentiate between passion and purpose? That's like a running question with my podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of take a back step to that. I mean, I sort of feel like our purpose in the world is that if there's more love on the planet when I die, it's been a really good life.
Hmm.
And I don't think there's any, and as long as our purpose aligns up with like what would love do now and how may I best serve, we're not negating that we need to make a living and take care of ourselves and our basic needs and everything. That's a part of that. That's a part of having self-esteem. But I don't really feel like there's one purpose. And in oftentimes in lives right now, I feel that we might start up with one purpose, and that might be the foundation to go to the next step. That might be the foundation to go to the next step. And it's not necessarily what we do. It's the heart, the love, the groundedness, the who we are that we bring to whatever we decide in the moment. Hey, this sounds good. My heart's sort of going, woo, let's try this. And
It
so
lights
I
you
don't
up.
believe it. Yeah, sliding ourselves in, and this is my purpose. And I don't know, just that feels really stilted.
Yeah, I mean, the older I've become, the more I've been okay with like allowing myself to call myself like a multifaceted or a hyphenate person. Like before, I was like, no, I'm an actress. Like, this is my box. I'm staying in it. But I'm like, no, I used to be like, I'm just an artist. And people would be like, oh, you draw. And I'm like, no, I don't. But I also write and I create and I do this. And I think you have to kind of allow yourself, like, that's okay. You're allowed to like more than one thing or be good at one more than one thing,
Yeah. I,
you
I
know?
agree with you, because sometimes if we say this is my purpose, it can feel like a really small, tight box.
Yeah.
And if we give it a name, the people are trying to put us in a box, and we just
Yes.
have to sort of go, well, this is who I am, and
Yeah.
maybe they'll understand, and maybe they won't.
I am with you. Because then it's like I also would feel weird if I started deviating. I'm like, well, why am I taking this cooking class? Like I'm an actor. And it's like, no, because I also like to cook and it's okay.
Yeah,
I love your take on it.
Absolutely.
I agree. Another question I have is, what advice do you give to people who feel stuck or unsure about their life path? Excuse me. That was another reason why I felt kind of compelled to do this podcast, because I'd like to help people purposely find their purpose. And I feel like at times I'm like, well, what is my purpose? Like, as we discussed a few seconds ago, being a multi hyphenate, I'm like, I can have more than one. But I'd like to know the advice that you give people who just feel stuck or unsure about which way to go in life.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting when I find people that are stuck or they want to go in one particular direction because oftentimes my experience is that when people come to me, what they say they want to work with and what they want to move towards is often not it. It's
Mm,
often like something that's beneath the surface. Maybe there's something emotionally they need to feel and let go of before they can let go. Now I can step forward. So oftentimes, like I remember when I was a very young coach, a woman came to me and she had started a master's program and she wanted to complete it. And every step of the way there was so much resistance into doing anything. And I ran her into her years later and I wasn't an experienced enough coach to call her, yeah, call it like the elephant in the room, what's going on here?
yeah.
Because you say you want to do this, but every way we try, I can feel this resistance from you, this resentment of even talking about the topic. What's
Wow.
going on? And what happened was she ended up just dropping that master's and getting a degree in something else. So I don't think we can always, I know this from my personal experience because sometimes I said I wanted to do this. And someone who's a good coach or mentor starts working with me, and something will come out, and maybe I'll cry or I'll laugh or I'll let go of something, and then I
Yeah.
realize, you know what? I'm in a different place. And
Yeah.
and maybe that's what we do to help people to let go of that stuckness so that they can go, wow, I just let go of a heap load of stuff with whatever happened here in the space that you were holding. And we can like assist to, well, what do you want to talk about now? I don't think we always are going to know, but when we hold that kind of big, loving, judgment free space, we can help people just let go of something they've been holding on to, saying that they want this, but they need to let go of something so they can be open to something new.
That's really interesting. And I think, like you said, I think sometimes it's so like under and deep down, under the surface, and people just don't even know. Where it's like the woman who was doing that master's, maybe she thought that was what she was supposed to do,
Yeah.
but that wasn't really fulfilling her. And that's why every time she brought it up, she was like probably unhappy about it. So, God, I think everybody who's listening to this should really think about that, because, unless you really kind of confront that issue and maybe even work with somebody like Arlene, you're just going to be stuck and probably a little unhappy in your life.
Yeah, and we put ourselves in boxes. The ego tells us, well, you started it, you have to finish it. Well, why is
Yes.
that? Maybe we
Right.
got the learning that we needed and now we can change. We put ourselves in this, we have to do this or that.
Yep.
And sometimes it's just, we don't, you
Yeah.
know?
It might have been the lesson you needed to learn at that time.
Yeah.
But it's so true, because I'm one of those people. It's like, well, I started it, I gotta finish it. And I'm like, well, maybe this is finished.
Yeah. We have to really look inside of ourselves. It could be something you're supposed to do and you need to overcome procrastination or whatever it is. I think it's unique for each person and their situation.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, speaking of procrastination, what is a great way to like overcome procrastination? Now that you brought it up, because I'm like, I myself am a huge procrastinator. It's almost shameful. I'm like, how do I get stuff done? I'm like a procrastinator, but at the same time, I'm like one of those last minute people where I'm like, well, you gotta do it because you don't have any more time now. So, is there any advice you
Yeah.
can speak on that?
There are people like that I know that they wait to the last minute, they put all the stress on them and all this adrenaline runs through and they do a really great job.
I think
That's not me. So that's great. But there is an awesome book that I read, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy.
that's me. Oh,
He's famous or whatever. But anyway, one of his things that always stuck with me was that what we do is that we decide what is the biggest, ugliest, hairiest frog that we need to eat today. And so whatever it is, instead of putting it at the bottom of the tray, the in tray, and then doing all this other stuff, in the meantime we feel horrible because we haven't done that one thing that's just eating away at us that we need to do. So
mm,
the way that he suggested is you just eat that big fat ugly frog. That's what he called it. And you get that one thing done and you pat yourself on the back and you celebrate that. And everything else that you do that day, it's going to be easier, but it's going to be the icing on the cake.
I love to hear that because honestly, when I do, like, I'm a very list oriented person. Like, I could pull up my little hard copy. I think you have the same kind of deal, like, scheduler, everything's all color coded. But I'm like, I kind of sometimes when I'm like, okay, I can't not do this, I'll start ranking things in order, like one, two, three, four, five, like what has to be done. And when I do the one I want to do the least first, I feel like I don't know, the burden is off my shoulders because, yeah, if I get the rest done, well, I could actually do number one on Friday. So it's okay. But now that I did that hairy frog, I'm good. Like, I'm cool now. Like, I can actually breathe. I
Yeah.
really, that resonates with me a lot. Wow. That's great advice. So, okay, this is kind of not really along the same lines, but this has been like a running question for me. But how do you think that people can overcome limiting beliefs and fears?
Well, first of all, we all have patterns and programs that limit us. We took them on
Mm,
in childhood, maybe from our parents, maybe from our peers, maybe from our teachers. And I guess the first thing we need to do is just acknowledge them. Because oftentimes they sort of run in the background, maybe it's voices we hear, the way we talk to ourselves, and we come to believe that this is me, but it's not you. You know, I'm a soul and spirit having this human experience. These thought
yeah.
patterns, these egoic patterns and programs are something that I've taken on board, and I believe that they're true. So first of all, we have to like go, okay, this is the pattern and program that I am, just being aware of it and acknowledging it. Because when we look at it in the eye and we say, I see you, it takes
Mm,
a lot of the steam out of it because it can't like be undercover anymore. And then we can start working with it. We can start it's like working with the inner critic and the inner coach. We can start noticing when that inner critic, that pattern and program comes up. And if I was my inner coach, if you were talking to me, let's say we're besties and you're sharing with me everything that I've been telling myself, what would I say to you? How would I champion you? How would I support you? How would I motivate you to step forward? And if you had your head up a dark place, how would I help pull your head out of there and say, listen, stop doing that? And all we have to do is turn around and give it to ourselves. So we know how to
wow.
do it. We have
Yeah.
those skills and tools, and we just have to give ourselves permission to practice it because it might feel really darn uncomfortable at first to
Yeah.
give that to ourselves. And so we have to be kind and patient and tolerant with ourselves, but keep practicing turning around and talking to ourselves like we would a dear friend or someone we really care about, and begin to take that advice.
I'm like, why is that always so hard for people? Like, and by people, I mean myself included. But it's like, a limiting belief, it's just like that big bad wolf that's like there and that creeps in. There could be times where I'm just like, oh my God, like I'm totally feeling myself. And I'm like, I got it going on. I know what I'm doing. But then like a wave of something will come over and it's like, no, you don't. You're faking it. You're faking it until you make it. But then I'm like, trying to talk to myself, like, but that's okay because it's working. Like, why do we do that to ourselves?
There is that imposter syndrome that a lot of people experience. And to me, it kind of feels like it runs in our genetics, that
Mm,
it's just passed down from generation to generation, but it's not who we are. So that's the best feeling that experience I have because I know that I could see things like that passed on from my mother's mother and my mother to me in certain ways that she did things and my grandmother did things. My grandmother thought that her thing in life to do was when she was a grandmother was to worry about us. And I'm like, please don't do that. It's like praying for what you don't want to have in your life. I didn't say that to my
yeah.
grandmother. She wouldn't have gotten that, but it's just weird that it feels like it's just passed on from generation to generation. And so what we can do is that we can break the mold. We can
Yes.
work with our inner coach. We can acknowledge that that inner critic is there, but we feel those feelings, but we're actually moving and aligning to this greater bit of ourselves, is the part of yourself that goes, I got it together. I'm good. And that bit of ourselves does have that loving self-confidence, does know that she's going to move forward, does know that she has what it takes. But there's still this bit of us that doesn't. So we can feel
Yeah.
those feelings, but we're not buying into them. And the more we let that stuff go or just dissolve it, because it's really it can be pretty twisted in there for all of us, not just you, for me too, for
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
The more that we can model that behavior for other people, and then it begins to change in generations to come.
I love that because I mean, just to be able to be that kind of person, regardless like if you have children or not, just to be that person to your friend and to keep it in your mind, like I just feel like it makes life easier, you know?
Yeah, because we're
Man,
too hard on ourselves.
yes. Yes.
Don't you think? I know
100%.
I don't know anything about that one, but I think other women are too hard on themselves.
Yes, these other women. It's them, not us, obviously.
It's not me.
Never. Oh man. Okay. So another good question I have is how do you think gratitude plays a role in manifesting one's desire? And could you possibly share a personal story about how gratitude has transformed your life?
Yeah, I feel like gratitude is just a huge key. It's like there's like variations, there's like unconditional love, and there's all these sacred qualities. And gratitude is a really high vibrational sacred quality. And
Hmm.
so the key is not what you're grateful for in your life, but that you really feel something that you're grateful for. It can be something really little. You can just maybe you put on like in the wintertime, like a really comfy soft sweater and go, oh man, I really like
Mm,
wearing this today. It feels so good. I mean, little things like that when we're really grateful, it just changes our whole experience and it makes everything easier to handle. And a really awesome gratitude experience I had was with a client. She was an attorney like me. She lived in a different country. I met her through
mm.
the International Coaching Federation. They have this reciprocal peer coaching thing. You can sign up and you're assigned a coach to coach, and someone else coaches you. And
Oh
so I get to
wow.
have coaching experience with people all over the world. And she was in a different country and she was working with gratitude. And she just realized that she was a great coach, that she really was allowing that to fall away in her life, and that she really wanted to be more grateful. And so
Mm.
when the time came that it was our sessions were done, she felt she was over. She spent a whole year on social media every day, posting something that she was grateful for, truly in her heart, and some sort of picture or photo to go with it. And I
Wow.
had the privilege to follow along with her, just to see what she posted every day. She didn't ask me to. We
Wow.
weren't working together then. But it's just something that sticks with me because I could feel her changing and I could
Wow.
feel myself changing just participating in that experience because, what we focus on is what we get more of in our lives. So there's
Yes.
just so many ways to play with gratitude, whatever way works for you, and you come away with a singing heart and you can really feel more grateful, go for that.
And it's funny to me too because like when I think people think of gratitude, you think it's gonna be or has to be something so big, you know what I mean? But like you said, it's like, no, I'm just grateful for wearing this fuzzy sweater. Like I'm grateful I live in California and the sun is shining today. Like just the little things sometimes mean so much. And I feel like the more you do acknowledge them, the happier you are, like you're saying, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It,
That's
it's really people think that they need to have something to be grateful for, but all we need to do is really turn around in our life and just look at all we've already created, and
yeah.
just begin to be more grateful for that.
And then I think it also helps you not take things for granted at times. When I think of things that I'm grateful for, like small or big, but like one, I'll be like, I'm really grateful for my health. And then it's like, but I think everyone kind of says that who are healthy people say that. But, when you're sick and you think about it, it's like, no, I am really, really grateful for my health. Like, oh my God, this is something huge. Thank you,
Yeah,
for
I'm really
sure.
grateful for hot showers. I
Oh,
love a hot shower. If I come in and have a
yes.
difficult day, and you take like a 3-minute hot shower and you put on different clothes, it feels like, oh my God, I have a new lease on life. So, I mean,
Yes.
it's little thing like that. We
My
don't need to make
God.
it something big. I think we
Yeah,
we 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 don't let's not do that to ourselves anymore.
right. I mean, just even in the moment, like, oh my God, I'm a foodie. So literally, if I'm eating something good, I'm like dancing. I'm like, I am so grateful for this butt cake right now. This is hitting the spot. It's like,
Oh, that's
it's kind of
funny.
ridiculous, but I'm like, no, this is stuff. This is real.
There's nothing better than food that's just really just hits the spot and feels good in your body, and it's so good on. Oh yeah, I get it totally.
I'm like, don't even get me started. But this is funny because this next question kind of goes with this because I'm wondering what are some practical self care tips that can help people reduce stress and improve their overall well being? you know, as women, especially, we often forget self care is important for our own well being because I feel like a lot of us are constantly doing things for other people.
Yeah.
But can you give some tips just to help people, especially because the holidays are coming? It's a stressful time. Do you
Yeah.
have?
Well, I think we need to drop the feeling of feeling guilty or that we're doing something wrong if we're loving and taking care of ourselves. Because if our
Mm,
cup is not full and overflowing, it's going to get drained. We're going to get resentful of giving, 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 and not getting back. And then we might take it out on other people and lash out. Then we're going to feel guilty for that. Then we're going to beat ourselves up for that. And then we're going to
yeah.
start the cycle all over again. So it's really, really important. Everyone's going to have different things. Some of my friends love to get a massage or a manicure and a pedicure. I love to go out in nature and go, oh, you are so beautiful. I just feel so good out here. But we
Yeah.
all have, and that's not the only thing. I love food as well. But
Yeah.
we just need to ponder on what do I need to for myself. Sometimes it's just like, man, I just need to take a walk around the block. I need to
Mm-hmm.
breathe fresh air, get away from my computer,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't be everything to everybody. It's not our job. It's not our job.
That's a
The
big
only
one.
the only person that we can change is ourselves. We
Yeah.
can be a model for our kids, but especially as they grow older, we need to let them be able to fail and pick themselves back up. But what I've found personally that I was carrying a lot of weight on my shoulders because I was like taking responsibility for my son, not letting him have
Mm,
experiences where he fell down or
yeah.
or giving so much to other people that they were not having the opportunity to step forward themselves and do something where they were going to evolve and grow. And so I was actually taking away from their growth. And
Interesting.
that was really selfish of me. I didn't realize that, because I thought I was so giving, giving, giving. And
Right.
so on so many levels, if we're not giving and engaging in that self-care, we're going to be whacked out. We're going to be all depleted and we're not going to be of use to anybody. So might as well let all that guilt and all that other BS go. I hope it's okay to say BS on your show.
Yes. Oh,
And
yes.
start finding ways that we can fill our cup up with love, whatever goes that feeling. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
lunch with a friend, whatever it is, you need to give it to yourself because you need to show yourself, hey, you're worthy of love. You're worthy of self care. And my love is that special love that you need because our love is different from everyone else's love. And it's the love that really fills us up instead of looking outside of ourselves for that. Because then when we do that, when we come to relationships, we come as a whole person
Hmm.
and we're going to attract other whole people to us. And that's a whole different experience.
I believe that 1,000,000%. It's funny because a while back, I actually wrote down some self care ideas just for myself because it just feels like when I need it, like I've kind of gotten to that point, like you kind of mentioned, where I'm like, not necessarily lashing out, but like a little bit, like kind of lashing out at my husband, like, oh my God, like I'm cooking dinner all the time. And like, just like the littlest stuff, you know? And then I realized, like, wait, no, I just need to kind of like appreciate myself and appreciate the things that I'm doing because, I'm like maybe not even feeling the appreciation from others because I haven't really recognized myself. Like, you're doing a good job, like, breathe, it's okay. So I was thinking, at first, like, oh, well, self care means, like you said, a massage or a manicure, pedicure. But then I'm like, okay, well, I don't have the money for a massage or a manicure, pedicure. And it's something that really costs money. I'm like, what makes me feel good? And it was like little things like, I like baking. How about I bake a red velvet cake? Or, like you said, get out into nature. Like, I love hiking, or at least I like to pretend that I love hiking. And when I'm there, I'm like, why am I hiking? It's so pretty out here. Or just going to the beach, like little free
Yeah.
things that I don't know, just kind of restores or just re-energizes you or re-energizes myself for like the next task or the next thing and just helps me realize like you're doing a good job and self-care is important.
Yeah. Because what I found I used to do is that, someone would give me a compliment and I wouldn't accept the compliment. I wouldn't just say thank you. I'd go, oh,
Uh,
I sort of push it away. We
yeah,
do that. And it's like, why do we do that? Stop it. I'm just talking to myself, but
for sure.
I stopped it. And it was like a whole different feeling now where someone gives me a compliment. And I go, oh, thank you. Thank you so
Uh-huh.
much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I used to never be able to do that. And when we can accept compliments, That's a way of accepting self-care and
Oh,
self-love.
I like that. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I do look cute in this shirt. Thank you. She noticed. Okay, that's nice.
This color does look good on me. Thank you so much.
Oh,
No,
you're
it does help. It's really the big shift, and I notice that every time someone says something, and then I actually respond from the heart with a heartfelt thank you,
right.
it just feels so different. And I'm like, wow, why did I wait so long to give that to myself?
Yeah.
It's so easy.
I love that. It's like a present for yourself, and I am with you there. Another question I have for you is how can we cultivate meaningful relationships with others while maintaining our own sense of identity? I'll ask that because de- I've never really thought of myself as a codependent person, but it was interesting because when I got married, I was just so used to my husband around like all the time, where I think as time has gone by, I'm like, oh God, I am kind of a codependent, person. And I think growing up, just because I felt pretty independent, I would kind of look at my friends who I felt or who would even admit that they felt like they needed to be in relationships. I would kind of not necessarily look down on them, but I'd be like, come on, like girl, you don't need to do that. But how can we show up, in a relationship, but like for ourselves, where we can actually be our own person and have our own identity?
Yeah, that's a real hard one because for years I did that too. I was like, I was really just a chameleon. I could go into
Uh-huh.
any room socially and I could connect with anybody.
I
And
think that's
maybe,
so
and
true.
that was good for business, but it's really not good for relationships. And I just feel it comes back to what I was talking to about before, is that when we did that, at least personally, my feeling is that I had this deep need for other people to fill me up with love so that I would feel that I was worthy or good looking enough or attractive enough or whatever it was that I wanted them to tell me instead of just taking the time to love and care for myself, because I
Mm.
find the more that I actually do that in a way that works for me, whatever way works for other people, then I'm not so much looking outside of myself. I'm coming more as a whole person. And if they like me, great. If they don't, well, you know, there's just not that affinity there right now. And I
Yeah.
can still have a conversation with them, but they're not going to be in my inner circle. And the other thing is that, even with the people we love and we do have that affinity with, it's what I learned the hard way as well, as I would have clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries with everybody,
Mm.
except, the person I was in a loving relationship with, that partner kind of thing, and my son and my besties. And and so what would happen is, they're human too. They're going to have bad hair days or bad moments when they just are triggered or upset about something. And I wouldn't have those strong, appropriate, my boundaries are like I'm open to unconditional love and higher. Love that when you don't want anything back from me, you just want to love me because you
Yeah.
enjoy loving.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do it for them. And I kept on getting whammies. Like, it's like they had this bad a reaction. I would be like a cannonball coming towards me, go, oh my, so,
Why?
and they weren't doing it on purpose. They were just, I'm sure I did it too. But
Hmm.
when we have those same boundaries for everybody, and the thing that I didn't get before that I get now is that when I have those strong boundaries, I'm going to be in more of a space of love and compassion and empathy for them. So I can actually give them more by not allowing their negative stuff or whatever they're working through or blowing off steam with into my energy field. So I
Yeah.
am actually a better friend, lover, mother, sister, whatever it is, because I have strong boundaries with even the people that I love and care about the most.
I mean, okay, so I am a person who has the worst time setting boundaries. Like I can admit it, I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I don't do that." How do you get past the fear? How do you like just know that this is actually going to be not just okay for you, but okay for them? Like how do you get to that point where you just know like it's okay to set a boundary? It sounds stupid,
Yeah.
but it's like,
No, it's
like
not stupid, because if someone's close to you, they're going to feel that you're different, and they might even call you on it because
yeah.
maybe what they're used to is dumping everything. They're coming to tell you all their problems, dump everything into your energy field. They go around by feeling great, and you feel like crap. And they're
Mhm.
like a tire, and they don't have it themselves, so they're going to come back in a week or whatever as a flat tire and want you to pump up that tire again. And when you don't do it, you don't tick that make me happy box.
Yeah.
They're going to be upset. And I just got to a place that, well, I don't really want that kind of person in my life. And if it was someone really close to me, just like, I know I was doing this, but I'm not doing you any favors because this is something you really need to learn to take care of for yourself. I love you. I'm going to be there for you the best I can. I know I'm changing and being different, and I know you're upset about it, but I just
Mm,
can't do that anymore. And the other thing that people do when you don't have clear boundaries is they kind of latch into your energy field and they suck your positive energy away, and you go away
mm.
feeling like crap and they feel good too. So yeah, the people that you let do that, they're not going to be happy because you're not giving them their make me happy box, but it's not going to be permanent. It's nothing that's going to stick with them because they're not giving it to themselves. They're going to come back in a short time as a flat tire again and want you to pump them up, and that's not helpful for you or for them.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's easy. It's not
Right.
necessarily easy.
Yeah. It's interesting because I mean, I've definitely had this experience several times in my life, but it's like what you said about just it doesn't last forever. Like when you're going through it, you're like, but they're never gonna like me or they're never gonna forgive me. Everything's gonna change. But usually from what I've seen, it changes for the better. And I know when I set boundaries, God, I feel like so empowered and just so much better about myself and better about situations where I'm like, God, I didn't want to be in that situation. And now that I said no to it, like I'm better. Like I feel empowered, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess people have to also remember like nothing is forever. And if that person truly loves you or if they're meant to be in your life, they will move past it or they will accept it.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes people just do. They drop out of our lives. We change, we evolve, we grow. And I don't know, I had a big high school reunion. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and a lot of people went back. And I went back to the first couple of ones, but it's like I don't know these people anymore. I'm sure they're lovely. I have a couple of them. They're my Facebook buddies, and I see pictures of their
Yeah.
kids, and I put little hearts, and that's all great. But I just didn't go back because it's just been so many years. There's nothing there anymore, and that's
Yeah.
okay. It's great memories. They're lovely people, but I'm in a
Mhm.
different place now.
I'm like sometimes I'm like, well, that's kind of what Facebook is for. No, but I am with you. We all evolve, thank God. Okay, well, switching gears a little bit, we were talking about work-life balance and what is a way to create work-life balance and how can you address people like ways of avoiding burnout?
Well, those are two very small questions.
Easy peasy, guys. I'm just trying to get it all in since the new year is
Right.
coming. I'm
Okay.
like, I'm getting it all in.
Well, I think the thing is that there's no such thing as actual work-life balance. It's always a work in progress, and that we need to be flexible and adaptable in our lives and really begin to set what our priorities are. I some of the women that I've worked with, they've sort of switched their jobs a little bit. Maybe they were. I work with a lot of women that are attorneys. Maybe they were in the public defender's office and they were handling a lot of trials, and it just didn't work with having kids at home. So they're now in the appellate division. And so they're writing briefs for the courts, and it doesn't take as much work. They're not in court, and so they have more time for their kids. One of my ladies that I know, she is a judge, and it frees her up with a lot more time to cart her daughter back and forth to events and stuff like that. So we make choices and decisions, and as women, we are nurturers, and there's nothing wrong with that. And we have to just sort of decide what are our priorities. And I guess one of the hard things in the world right now is that a lot of families need both parents working, and it's because of the way the finances are. So sometimes something has to go. There's no hard and fast rules. Really, we have to work with each person individually. What are your priorities? What's important to your life, what's really bothering you about your life, and how can we work together to create a different situation. And a lot of it, I feel, comes down to how we feel inside.
Mm,
If we're working with that gratitude, if we're getting out in nature, if we feel more calm and relaxed, maybe we're doing some breath work or some other mindfulness stuff so that whatever happens, we don't flip out. And we all have moments when we flip out. We don't want to beat ourselves up for that, but
yeah.
it's good. It just makes it easier to handle whatever life presents. So I think that's a big part of it as well.
Man, I mean, I love just the way you phrased it as well, because the women you were speaking about, it wasn't like they totally like upheavaled their lives. Like, they didn't turn it upside down, but it feels like they almost just pivoted a little bit. So maybe it's like sometimes you don't have to change completely everything. You could just kind of like step to the side a little.
Yeah, you just have to feel what's right for you and not put all these expectations on ourselves. I should do this, I should do that. If we shoot ourselves to death, that's just a bunch of judgment. And everyone is unique. And sometimes we say we're going to do one thing and we take a couple steps, and it just doesn't feel right. It's
Hmm.
perfectly okay to change our course and try something else. Just because we try something in one direction doesn't mean we have to go to the end and fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
We need to be kind to ourselves. And it is a process because a lot of times we do feel a lot of stress, and we're not really sure how to balance it out. I can't tell anyone what to do, but I can certainly walk alongside them to help them, support them as they make the choices that work for them.
I love it. I mean, I'm once again pitching you to everybody out there who's listening, because I feel like we all kind of need that like voice of reason, or just like a guide at times. So don't
Yeah.
forget to check out Arlene Miller's website, y'all. But don't worry, we're not quite done. I still have a couple of more questions. How can people embrace change and uncertainty with a positive mindset? And what strategies can help them adapt to new circumstances?
Well, I think one of the ways that we can embrace change and uncertainty is to acknowledge there's two bits of us. There's the ego personality that hates change, wants to lie on the couch, eating potato chips, watching Netflix or whatever. I'm exaggerating, but there's the soul and spirit of us that loves change, that loves to evolve and grow and read books and learn new things. And so what we need to do is be a loving parent to that other bit of ourselves. I know that you don't want to do this, but this is what we're doing moving forward.
It's
You don't
okay.
have to do it. As a soul, I'm doing it. But we can still be kind. I really appreciate how you haven't been throwing a temper tantrum on the floor. I know you really want a piece of that chocolate cake. I
Mm.
can't do sugar personally, but whatever it is, or you really have wanted to go and get your nails done or whatever it is, let's go do that now. So we're not ignoring the human bit of ourselves, but we're parenting it, and we're having those clear, strong, appropriate boundaries so that if we do have something as a soul of the spirit that is a singing heart thing, we don't allow these egoic younger bits of ourselves to rule our lives. We love
Mm.
them, but they're not in the driver's seat anymore. They're in the back seat, they're buckled up, and we're the parent. We're being, kind and compassionate, and sometimes we have to be a little bit of a tough hammer. That's not okay.
Yeah.
And that's how we can move through our lives. It's not like it's going to necessarily disappear, but we can acknowledge and deal with those bits of ourselves.
Wow, that's really important to hear and for people to take in. Wow. Why is it essential to set healthy boundaries in relationships? I mean, we've kind of discussed this a little bit, but both personal and professional. And how can we do this without feeling guilty or selfish? Now, we've talked a little bit more about the personal, I think, but setting up those professional boundaries, like, I just always feel awkward. I'm like, oh, I have to stay late. Oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm scared. I'm scared. So, how do we do that?
That's really an interesting thing because I've had clients where like they're really good at work, but they're actually being like more of a doormat and a people pleaser, and they come home and they're kind of a tyrant with their teenagers. So how do we set clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries? I guess we really have to decide at work, what is okay with us and what's not okay. And if
Mm,
something's really not okay because it's interfering with our life, and we don't want if we vision ourselves continuing the same thing, how would we feel on our deathbed about that? That's one way that I look at things that I sort of feel into at night. If I didn't change this behavior, and it was still here with me when I died, when I'm on my deathbed, how would that feel? But if I
yeah.
had let that go and I had changed it and maybe adjusted my boundaries, I'm just giving it boundaries as an example,
Hmm.
how would I feel then? And then we can sort of, so sometimes we feel into it and go, oh my God, that feels really crappy.
Or
And then we
scary.
can make it, or scary. But you know what? I guess what I'm hearing from you is that sometimes when we're choosing to even contemplate setting appropriate boundaries, like, not working till midnight to do something, or whatever it is that's asked of us, that can feel really, really scary. And we have to decide, okay, is this profession, because I remember we had a conversation before that this was really important to you and that's what you did, and that was a part of the job, and that's what you chose to do. So we can do that. There's no absolute rights and there's no absolute wrongs. We just have to really feel into, is this working for us? Is it working for our relationships? What needs to happen? Do I need to have a conversation with the person I'm in a
Mhm.
relationship? Or, you know, there's no hard and fast rules, but I think if we're kind, patient, and tolerant with ourselves, and we drop all these expectations of how things should be, which is about judging ourselves and beating ourselves up, and be open to all possibilities and talk to the people that we love in our life and come to decisions together if necessary, we just do the best we can do.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually just thinking about like laying on my deathbed and being like, was I happy doing that or should I have done that? I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. It's scary because, I mean, who wants to die with regrets? I don't think anybody does. So, I mean, that's awful. And I never even thought about it like that. When would you say that people like when it comes to work-life balance before accepting a job or maybe in the beginning of a job should set those boundaries like you were saying of what's going to work for them and what's not going to work for them, like when's an
I don't
appropriate time?
Well, I guess the appropriate time would be in the interview process. Like, what are your expectations of me? What does this job entail? What are the hours?
Mhm.
And really feel into, we have to make decisions. If we have to put bread on the table, we can do it that way with a job that maybe resonates with it. If it doesn't, am I willing to do something that's maybe a more menial job, but I have enough money to do the other things that I love?
Mhm.
We can make those kinds of decisions, and if we ask the questions up front, why not? And find out more about what the job's about, what the hours are, what they want us to do, what's okay, what's not okay. And
Yeah.
the way I would phrase it is, I just need to know so I can be the best, employee for you that I can possibly be.
Yeah.
And then we can make a decision of, does this fit in with, who I am, and the kind of person I want to be and the other things I have in my life.
I love that because oftentimes when I like interview for jobs, I'm like, well, I'll just tell them what they want to hear because I am the best employee and I want to get the job. But then it's like once you have the job, it's like, oh crap, like was this what they said? Like this isn't what I want to do, and then you're in a whole then you feel bad about yourself because now you're doing something you don't want to do. It's that whole sliding scale of crap. So I like that you said the interview process. Like I think that's the best place to start with it.
And how we approach it, and how if we come to it with emotional maturity and just wanting to give the best and know exactly what the parameters are, because being on the other side of someone who's interviewed a lot of people as a lawyer owning a firm,
Yeah.
it's like it's a hard thing to do, to get to know someone, and if they're going to work for you or not, and have someone who shares what they're looking for, what or is interested in what the job entails, and then can take it in. I mean, it just makes it easier it would make it a lot easier for me than just someone
I
that's just nodding their head, and
right.
because you don't know what you get. You don't know
Yeah.
what you get. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard on both sides, is my point.
Yes. Yes. Because then it's like, as the person who said the things, you're embarrassed, and it's just like, oh man, now I can't ask for that referral. Oh God. Okay. Well, how can people find joy and satisfaction in the process of achieving their goals rather than solely focusing on the end result?
That's such a good question, because it's
Yeah.
really important. I think we do ourselves a big disservice if we just celebrate it when we get to the end of a goal. We wrote a book, we finished a big project. The way to really have that gratitude, the way to really have that joy and enthusiasm and a whole different uplifting experience in life, is to make it a something you do every day, to acknowledge what you've
Mm.
accomplished, to celebrate those accomplishments, because then we're building this beautiful foundation of loving and accepting ourselves and celebrating all of our successes, even the little teeny tiny ones. And,
Yes.
it could be as simple as, I really don't feel like calling this person. And it's not really that big of a deal or a long call. It's like, I'm doing it now. You get on the phone. It wasn't the greatest conversation, but hey, I did it. I did what was supposed to do. I provided that service. Job well done. We're going to do
Yeah.
something fun tonight. I don't know. I don't care if it's just dancing around to music that I like. We're going to do
Hmm.
something, or, to celebrate. So it's what you brought up is so, so, so important.
I really like that. It's like I feel like I'm a cheese ball sometimes, and the example you gave is so perfect because sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to have this conversation. I have to get it over with. But like literally, I will give myself a pat on the back, and I don't know why it makes me feel so good. I'm like, Good job, Bev. It works. Yeah, you did it.
Yeah. Yeah, it does work. It feels really nice when we give that to ourselves, and then we're not looking outside of ourselves for someone to give it to us as well.
Yeah.
It's very empowering and a very kind and loving thing to do.
Wow. That's a great way to put it. Okay, I had one last question. Somehow I have a this is like a bonus question. I was like, okay, I'm going to see if we have time, and I just wanted to ask, what advice do you have for people who want to leave a positive impact on the world? Especially because I feel like this resonates with you when you said, as long as you know that you've impacted someone before you die. Like, what advice do you have for people who want to do that?
I think that we need to not say that I have to get on some big stage and do something because, it's the presence that we hold. If you're grounded in your body and you're connected, like I have these roots of light that go into the heart of the planet and I'm really fully present here for people. If I give that to anybody, that's a victory beyond measure. If I hold that space for anybody,
Mm.
if we have this moment I can remember when my granddaughter was 3, I took her to PetSmart, she wanted to see all the fish
Yeah.
and and there was a lot of people there, and I said, you have to get in this cart. I didn't. She could run off, and she got on the floor and she had a tantrum, and I sat on the floor with her, and I'm like, I'm here with you. I know you're upset, but if you want to go to PetSmart, Grandma has to do things that are safe for you. I'm not your mom. I'm not as quick as she is. You have to get in the cart, and I just let her have her little tantrum, and then she got in the cart. And some of those little moments that we have, instead of yelling and screaming at her, when we can give that to ourselves as well, those things are the kind of things that make a difference. Those are the kind of things where we plant seeds, where we are grounding and expressing more love. And sometimes it's just listening to somebody. I have a friend that's sick and he just needed to talk to someone. He doesn't need anyone to
Mm.
make him better. And so I just went over to visit and let him share. And sometimes it's those little kind of kindness things that really make a whole big difference in our life. And I think we sometimes think I have to do this great big thing and then I've done something big in the world. No, all these little things really, really add up, and we need to pay attention when we give them to others and to ourselves.
Wow. It's so true. Like, I don't mean, sometimes I know personally, like, I can feel so small and I'm like, oh God, like, I don't know if this is like what they need. But like you said, just even listening to someone sometimes can change someone's life. Even a smile.
Even a smile. A smile's a big thing.
Yeah. Wow. Oh gosh. I mean, I think you're fabulous. You're incredible. And I've gotten so much out of this conversation. I'd love it if you could tell people where to find you and, anything that you're offering right now.
Well, thank you. So if you Google Arlene Cohen Miller, my full name, you will find me on all the social media places I'm at. I think no one else has this name, which I'm really grateful for. You can go to my website at Jewel, Jewel, like the diamond consultancy.com. I do have some free videos on there on leadership and just calming yourself down. I have a blog that has lots and lots of articles about everything to help you. I guess if you mention Beverly Explains It All, I will be happy to gift you with a free discovery call, just a conversation with
Hey,
me.
we like
And
free stuff here. Yay, thank you.
and then,
Awesome.
and then I do coaching and mentoring, and I also do soul readings, which are a part of mentoring. So I'm happy to serve you in those ways. And you can always text me if you're in the States or Canada at 720-936-2634. Mention Beverly so I know where you came from. And I'll be happy to at least text with you if I don't get back with you right away. I'm doing something, but I will get back.
Oh my God, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. I'm gonna have all of this information in the show notes. So, if people like to listen to this while they're driving, they're not trying to memorize and drive. I am so thankful for you, Arlene. One last question, and then I'll promise I'll let you go. I was just wondering if you have a mantra, a quote, or words you live by.
There's a bunch of that I love, but I think just one simple one from what we've talked about today is like, I am worthy of love. I am worthy
Mm.
of success. I am worthy of being my best self. If we just sort of tell ourselves what we're worthy of and we really feel it, it's so simple, it's so easy to remember. And that can be something that can transform our lives, hopefully, very positively.
Oh my gosh. I think this is an important thing for people to remember going into the new year. I'm hoping everyone's going to make 2025 strong. Or Arlene Cohen Miller, thank you so very much. I really appreciate your time and all of your wise words.
Well, thank you for having me. Very grateful to be here.
Of course. Thank you guys for listening. This was Beverly Explains It All. Bye.